Hello developers, today we're going to create a NestJS backend application as in future we're going to create our backend using NestJS. So we're just going to familiarize with the NestJS and also how we can go through it. So it's kind of tutorial where you're gonna learn each and everything to initialize your first NestJS application besides the other impromptu. So here is the documentation for nestjs.com. So we are going to just press that documentation tab just to start and begin with that. So first of all, there is an intro. You can go through the intro and you can find it's really helpful if you go and just learn a bit about it. So for me, I will just go to here as the npm ig nest at nestjs CLI. So I need to install that nestjs command line. First of all, you can just check that using that nest -v. So as you see, I have nothing installed like that. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just simply write npm I, and it's just for the G for global flag, and then I will just pass that at nestjs, and then I will just get the command line. So internal nestjs command line, it will be initialized within my application. So it's globally installed. So now I will just go to run my previous command, which will be nestv. And as you see, I have that nestjs 11.0.7 installed. So now I need to create a new nestjs application. So now let's create nest and new. Now I will just pass the name as, let's say, nest app. Enter. So now I will just go which package manager I need to follow. I'll go with the npm, and now it's processing the installation. Now this is why we are just going through it, because remember we are creating our backend using that this plain backend which is coming up from in the Node.js, and then we are using the Express and other formula to go our creating the API, and just to using that scenario we are using our API backend using the Next.js, Node.js. So not the Next.js, JavaScript and Node.js, but the basic formula is that it's not that much helpful when you are creating on that. Everything you need to go with the ground. But if we use some kind of framework for our API, as you see for the JavaScript, Next.js is one of the popular one. It will be giving us a lot of helpful scenario where it will be coming in build. So now of course you can go with your first steps, how it's just going to initialize. Then you can come with the controllers, what kind of how the controller is work. You see, you trigger from the client side, then how the request going to find each and every single controller, and then how the request can send with them. This documentation, before starting, what I really want you go through it. So just read one time so that it will make a lot of sense to you. And then also how the providers is working. You see, you can inject multiple providers whenever we are having other scenario. Then also how the middleware, how the modules work, how the middleware work. And as you see, there is a lot of things to go through it. But as starting, I think this is the first video in my channel about the Next.js. So I will try to go in a very similar or very easy process so that you can learn each and everything very easily. Okay, our application is built up. As you see, it's coming with an thanks for installing Nest.js. If I just put ls, you can see our Nest app is created. You can also open to a directory to see the flow. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go cd into Nest app, and then I'm gonna open it within my code editor. So this is our first ever Nest.js application where we are having the node modules, and then we have our source where we have our app controller, then the app module, app service, and main. So you're gonna go with each and every single thing. And the best scenario is that by default Next.js is coming using the TypeScript, so you're gonna get TypeScript scenario at the first end. And then we are having our other property in the package. We can just simply see that we have a multiple segment here where we have a different libraries. We use that Next.js common, Next.js core, and also the Next.js platform Express. That's the Express we're gonna use, and then metadata and RxJS. So this is the way it's gonna start, and just for the beginning staple. to build up our application. So first of all, we need to go and configure the scenario how we can run our application in our local server, right? So this is the first step. So we create our first application. So we're going to go in our main. So this is the entry point by which our application is running. So from here, everything gonna run within our parameter. So as you see, it's saying here we have an app which is await creating using the NestFactory.create, and we are passing the app module. And in the app.listen, if we have the process.env port, first of all, as it a backend application, it doesn't have the .env by default, which we are having. If you are building the NestJS application, this is having there by default, but we need to implement that. So the port, it will be 3000 because it will just go run in localhost 3000. So I'm going to open my terminal, then I'm going to just go with that npm run start. Okay, so also you can run that npm start. So as you see the start command at the top, which is going to start our application, so that will directly start our application. So hit enter. So we're going to find an application, and in the application scenario, it's gonna open like listening in our port 3000, and also we are having one service, and that service gonna create a function which returning a simple hello world string application. And also in our controller, we are passing that get hello service. So this is the way as two-way funneling. So if we just go and open our localhost 3000, or as you see the hello world is there, but for this application we are not going to use the browser because we're going to use the Postman as is a backend client applications. So I'm going to go and just pass that Postman side by side, and here we have our NestJS where we're going to create the route and others. But first of all, I'm going to just create a new like for directly from here, I'm going to create a new request, or you can add a request here, and on the request I'm going to just make that as a home request, and over here it's going to just pass that our localhost 3000. So I think I have my localhost right here, so I will just copy this one and then get my home route and hit enter. Or I need to, okay, anyway, it's not copying there, I don't know why. So I'm gonna just get my localhost 3000 right here, and as you see, if it's running properly, you see the hello world is coming, right? So right now I want to change the hello world text. Okay, I'm gonna create a simple functionality where we can just write our own application layer. So instead of hello world, I will go in my app services. I'm gonna just write something here which is going to say this is my first NestJS application. If I save, and after saving, whenever I hit, you see nothing is changed. It because what I need to do, I need to close the terminal, then again npm run start. If I do that scenario right now, and then if I go and I okay, it's just taking a bit of time. If I hit okay, still why is taking, I think it's little, it's creating a little bit of time glitch here. Okay, it's running now. So now if I hit again, I should be able to see this is my first NestJS application. And what it's because whenever we are creating an application, remember in our for we need to install that nodemon. So in every single time it changes, it's giving the reflection. But for our NestJS application, what you need to do is that, as you see in the package, we have another command which is start dip. So this is the coming as watcher. So in this application layer, it will set as the watcher. So we need to go with the same application, but we just need to create another flag which it will be, let's say dip, start dip. So now it will go with the development mode and it will set the watcher, so that as you see starting completion in watch mode. So it's gonna watch right now, and as you see we have the dist library, so every single thing gonna watch and go with directly. So now if we just hit here, you see the similar pattern is right now here. So if we just go and okay, NestJS app, I'm gonna just change a simple tag, app going to be application going to be as an app, and as you okay, it's just running right now. Okay, hit enter. You see this is my first NestJS app. So application is working perfectly. So now as we did that, now it's time us to create our application. So first of all, we're gonna create a simple backend authentication parameter where we're gonna set our users, and of course we're gonna use some of the dummy data to go and use our things in a very easy way. So I'm gonna create a data folder, and on the data I'm gonna create a one index.ts file, as we're using the TypeScript. And in that index.ts file, we're gonna just pass some of the data variable, and no worries about that. I'm gonna also directly inject that in our for directly gonna embed that within our GitHub, so you can also get the code by yourself. Also, there should be a type file which you're gonna define our type, and that type file I'm gonna just keep it in our root file. So that will be type for our user, and here we are passing all of the users. So what kind of users we are talking about? First of all, if we just come right here, I think we have users. So every user's having an ID, having the name and email, phone, image URL, created that. So this just I populate using ChatGPT, or you can use that by yourself. You can write it and do it. So it just have a 20 user. So what we're gonna do, first of all, we're gonna create several routes. We're gonna create 4 advanced route, which will be a get user route where we're gonna get all of the users. Then we will be another unique URL where we're gonna get a single user using the ID. Then we're gonna also create another for the create user and a post method. Then we're gonna use the put methods, which will update the user, then the delete method, which will delete the user. So this is what we're gonna do. First of all, I think there is the type. We have the type.ts export interface. Okay, now I need to also, so that's the type I just defined here. So we need to just import the type. Okay, was wrong, type or corresponding declaration, or anyway, why we are trying so hard, I'm gonna just copy that and I'm gonna just directly passing it here. That's it. And after doing so, it just popping the error. So it's up to you. You can separate the concern, or you can also use with the same flag. Now, first thing first, we need to create our module, right? And of course, whenever you are building application, I want to open the terminal as much as possible, because if we are having an error, we're gonna find it right here. So first of all, as you see the main server which is running, first we're gonna just initialize our listener, right? So as you see in the port we are listening, so I'm gonna create one variable, so should be port, and that port is equal to, it can be either process.env port or localhost 3000, and also you can pass the 8000 or any other parameter. So first of all, I'm gonna pass the port and then create an inline function which gonna just simply make the log here, which will define that where it's running. So let's say server started on port, so then it's gonna define our port, and if you're gonna see it, it's gonna first repeat the log, then it's gonna running our application layer. You see, that's our log. So server started on port 3000. Now we're gonna go in npm. So we need to initialize our, or install our .env. So I'm gonna go with that .env to get that one. So .env, so that's the package, and installing the package the way it's happening for any other JavaScript programming. So first of all, I need to create another terminal, and over here first of all I need to install that. Okay, that's it. So npm i.env, and then we need to define, or we need to pass that .env. So we just simply, you can go at the top, or you can also make it at the bottom. So import should be coming from that .env /config. So that's the configuration setup it's gonna go, and then if you save, it's just going to pass that. Now we need to create another .env file. So let's say .env, and here I'm gonna pass the port, and the port should be, let's say we're gonna define it within the 8000. Okay, so the port is not in 3000 but in 8000. So I'm gonna go and come in the main. So right now the scenario should be changed because we are not running in our 3000. So I'm gonna close the terminal and npm run start in the development server. So hopefully what we are looking forward, that our development server gonna run in our localhost 8000, not in 3000 anymore. Okay, let's see. and yes, it's running in localhost 8000. So if we hit in 3000 right now, we will not get any of the answer. You see the route, it will not be validated. But as you know, it's better to go with 3000. So I'm gonna just concern to remove that one in 3000. And as you did that, whenever you are changing, you need to just close the terminal and then you need to rerun again. So first of all, as you see, we need to create a simple route, which will be our like the get method, and that method going to be consolidate and make all of the requests. But before starting on that, I want to change something. As you see, if we go in our app services, also in the main, we have that the app module, so everything is okay, fine. So now I'm going to go in app service, and you see this is the app service which we are calling. But you see in that parameter, in the get hello method, I don't want to use that method. And also in the app module, we have our app controller, and in the controller we have a get method. I don't want to initialize, so everything is cut and clear. Now you see, instead of that app service or app controller, we can just go and initialize our user controller. So we will just using that user controller here, no more app controller, right? So in the user controller, and also and the app service, it should be coming from as user service, and as just happen to be there, we need to rename our service. So I'm going to go with use that user service. Okay, so whenever we do that, we should be finding our, instead of that app service, we're gonna just get our user service. That's it. So we have our user service. And after that, also in /app service, I think it's okay. What is saying import app service, where is that app module.js? Okay, so this service is not available anymore, so we need to go with that, let's say user service. So this is the available one, and as we do that, it's okay. So also the app controller, it will not be available, so it should be passing from there as user controller. Done. And also I think, yeah, as you see, everything working fine. So basically what we're gonna do, we especially in the module, now the module is done, we'll not touch the module anymore. Basically we're gonna work with the app controller, where we're gonna write our all the controller, all the method controller. Then in the service, so we're gonna all the logic based services, all the logical parameter, we're gonna just keep and writing on there. So now first of all, let's go create one controller here, which will help us to building our parameter. First of all, we're gonna come with our app controller, and in the controller, after that, not the user service here, below that, first we're gonna create a simple function which will be passing that get all users, right? So this method going to bring us all my users, and the first method going to be a get method. And in the annotation, you can now pass like in the controller. Okay, so this is the main route, so it's like /home, right? But also like I can pass that as API, then the services, we can just simply go with that, we can call it as API, right? And once you just go in /API, and also it's better to renaming the version one, you can go and create a versioning parameter, is up to you. So like if I go with the API v1, then it will go /API v1, and also if we can also rewriting here, right? If I go with the users and go with the all, it will go that API v1 users all, so it's gonna create that scenario. But for this as a beginning application, I don't want to go to mess up so many things. First of all, I'm gonna create a user route, so it should be localhost localhost 3000 /user. So now in that get method, we're gonna just go and pass a scenario which will pass that all. So it's gonna provide a all method, so all users can fetch from here. And on that get method, I'm gonna pass the name of that get all users, and that will be a simple function. That's it. Now this method, what it gonna do, first of all, it's gonna return what it's gonna return. So return this dot, we're gonna go with that user service. Did we bring that user service? Yes, user service dot get all users. So first of all, now we doesn't have a service. Did we have? If we go in our app.services, we doesn't have any services yet. So we need to create a service which gonna go and funneling through our users parameter, and it's gonna provide our all the users data. So also we will just go and I'm gonna comment that so it will be easy to understand. So should be get all users, and there it will be a simple function. So users, and that function going to be passing that all of our users, and we're gonna just return our users. So that users is coming from the data. Now here is the tricky thing. If you're using the database same like the MongoDB or any other database, here is the thing where you're gonna connect the database and we're gonna fetch the data from our database, then we're gonna pass. So all the calculation going to come here, and as you're using the NestJS, so it's having a very heavy machine by default, so it's gonna paste the data very easily. So now as the type is also we're gonna having the type, right? So we need to define the type as soon as possible. So in the type should be the user type, and it will be an array of user. So now within that function it's gonna return our users. So now let's go our controller here, but here in the controller we are still facing the error. As you see, if we just hover over here, property user service does not exist on type user controller. Okay, user service is not really what is saying property user service does not exist on type user controller. So this is our controller, user controller. So the app service is coming off the user service. Okay, we need to pass that, we need to rename that one as user service. Okay, that's why it's not ticking that. So now we are having our user. So if we go over here, and as you see, it will be our, let's say, user /all. So if we hit that, we should be able to see, you can see we got all the users. So that's the same scenario, that's the same of that like get users functionality also working with the same. If we hit that, we should be able to see. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger so you can see it. Yeah, now you can see all the users is right here. So all 20 users we are having. Now we get all the users data just by dropping that. And one more thing also, you can also pass that one. I think right now it's not asking for the type scenario, but it will ask if you are using any ESLint extension on others. And whenever you are having the error, what I refer you need to define the type. So the type should be typing annotation coming from the user as user type, and also it can be undefined, as it's just gonna pass the returning value and then getting the parameter of it should be an array of user. Okay, so in that way you can access that type facility. I'm going to facilitate the type, all the types, so even you are using ESLint extension or not, your application is going to work perfectly fine. So now this is one single parameter where you can get the all users, right? But right now we're going to create another route which gonna pass that get user by ID. So that will be another function, and also it will be just going to be a get method. So should be a get method, and in the get method we're gonna pass our ID. And as you see, get user by ID, which is going to passing a param. So in param is gonna working the similar of our application which we are building before. So it's gonna get the param where it's all the parameter going to be coming in so far, and then it's gonna pass also an ID which will be in string, should be user or undefined. And also you're gonna pass one here that just to be combined here a message parameter. So should be a message which is going to be a string, because whenever the user is not available within the ID we should pass a message. And okay, I don't like that auto suggestion. Okay, so first of all we need to get the ID, right? So should be const user ID, and that user ID should be is equal to, we can just using a plus notation just to loophole the ID. So now our ID is accessible, and as we are getting the ID we can just simply go with that, let's say return. So this dot we will go with that I think the user service, and then it should be get user by ID, and over here we will pass simply our user ID. So now we need to create that get user by ID function in our app service, otherwise it will not work. So let's go in the app service, similar parameter should be get user by ID, and over here get user by ID, and on that it will be simply a function. That's it. So now on that function, first of all we need to get our type, which should be defined all the parameters. So user ID, which gonna come over here, should be as a number, and then outer layer of that parameter in the parent layer, that could be a user and also a single user, and that could be an undefined, and also gonna pass the message which is going to be a string. Okay, now we got the value. So now we need to define our user. Const user should be, we need to go with our users dot, we're gonna go with a find method, and in that find every user, we're gonna just go and just simply define our function here, and we're gonna go with that user dot id is equal to, should be the user id which we are passing. So if it's match, we're gonna having our user. Now if we're gonna pass a simple return variable. If we have the user, then we are passing our user, right? If it doesn't have the user, we need to pass a message, right? Okay, not here. We need to pass the message, because sometimes you pass a different id which going to be no user is available within that parameter. We're gonna go with a backtick which gonna say user not available with id, and then we're gonna just pass that our user id. That's it. So now every time, like say we have a single user parameter, so hopefully what we are doing, we are passing that localhost 3000 user at 20. So we should be able to get the 20 number of user. As you see, we have 20 Nicolo Green. And if you come over here, okay, I'm gonna save it, I'm gonna remove that, and also come in the get user. Let's just clean a bit. Okay, so now in get user, if we have 20, see the Nicole Green, so that's the same user we are having. Now if we just go, like if we use a certain 24, we have 20, but if we use 24, you see my API is not broken, because if you don't pass that fallback message, your API gonna come with a 404 error, or it will just unhandled error gonna be there, which is not really good whenever you are building your API. So it's better to have that kind of message that user is not available. If I put 1, you can see user is available. Okay, so we have our two different method where we are having the users. And now what we need to do, we need to create another controller by which we can create a new user, right? So let's go in app controller. Over here we're gonna just go another route, should be create a user. And over here, what it should be a post method, right? So post, and as you see, whenever I'm typing, the post and get, both methods need to be imported at the top, controller, get, param, post. So you need to be careful either it's imported or not, because if not imported, it's gonna throw an error. Now, as you see, we will not go with the same route to create that. So we're gonna go with a different route, and we're gonna put the route name is a create. So CREATE, create. So this is the one which gonna handle our create route, and there we're gonna pass that a function which will be create user, and this function gonna create a user. And also we're gonna use a service, create a service here. So should be create a new user. So should be create user. So over here we're gonna just simply pass that right now, because we are doing nothing right now. We're just creating a service which are going to handle a create user function, nothing else. And also we are having our app controller create user. So now as we are going to make that, now whenever we are going to create the user, we're gonna go and bring certain kind of scenario, right? We're gonna bring the body where we're gonna pass the message whatever we want them to drop it, and then we're gonna fabricate that one. So every create user, what I'm gonna do here, sorry, not here, it should be in parameter. Every create user should be having a body. So after the body, so it will just go all the body parameter, and the body parameter should be user, and the user should be a partial user, not the full user. So you need to be careful on that, because that whenever we're gonna creating the user, it should be annotating with the partial AL. So it should be a partial user, and then after that it would be an actual valid type of user. Or also we need to combine a message here, so that message should be a string value of message. So now we need to define our user, we grab it. So now we need to create our parameter, and so const user data, it should be is equal to the user which we are passing in the params or in the body. Now what we're gonna do, if we doesn't have, so we need to like defining our error message. So right now, if you are sending a request, sending a post request in that create method without having that user data.name or email or phone number or image URL, what we're gonna do, we're gonna simply return a message: name, email, phone, and image URL are required. You can also check one by one. You can go with the condition switch case, so that you can like if name is not there, you can go with that required functional parameter, which can be happen to handle using the MongoDB whenever you're gonna use the database parameter, because this kind of message gonna pass from our database or you're gonna pass through the API. So you can go individually or you can just go with the or message. So that's the end of that. Then what we're gonna do, we're gonna simply return this dot, we're gonna go with the user service, then it should be create user, and on that create user functionality we're gonna pass our user data. So within that user data, what we can do, we can create a simple user. So this is our controller is done. So in the controller we define what we want it to be done. So see the complex scenario. In the controller we are controlling what should happen, what should be sending, and what the output and going things gonna happen. Now the service gonna start working. So in the controller we are passing the command. So in the service, what we're gonna do, we're gonna create all of the scenario which is really needed. So first of all, it's gonna come with the parameter of the user, which going to be becoming a partial user. So should be a user and the partial user. I need only those, and then we're gonna pass that as that user formula. And now, of course, first of all, we need to get the ID. Every single user have a unique ID, so we need to provide the ID. So should be const new ID, and that ID should be, first of all, we're gonna go through all of our users data, and over there we're gonna add the next one, right? So users dot length, and that length going to be go with that -1. So every time we go with that, and dot ID we're gonna +1. So as you see, I have the ID number 20, so the next ID should be 21. If we have 21, next would be 22. So that's how we're gonna use that. So first of all, we need to create a user data. So const new user, and that new user going to be as the user ratio, and over here we need to define what kind of user we want. So as you see, the ID should be new ID, name should be user.name, email should be user.email. So that user is coming from the body, remember? And then also the phone number and the image URL, and also you're gonna pass a created at, so which you're gonna see, you see we have the created at whenever the user is created, that message is going to be there. And also you're gonna pass another one when the message is going to be updated. If you go and see over our users, so let's see, it will be in data, you can see at the top we have updated. It's optional. If it's available, only then the type is defined. So whenever we update, we're gonna pass that. But as you see, as we did that, we are having a type error. This is really good things to building directly in that's why I really want loving to switch in that for the NestJS, because of the type safety. So where I'm gonna pass that, if I have that, if doesn't have, it will just go in a null value. So now I'm having my new user, right? So whenever I'm gonna have the new user, I'm gonna pass that users dot push, and we're gonna push that new user, then we're gonna return our new user. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna create all of the data scenarios. So these four all fields are mandatory. Whenever we are passing that, the ID gonna coming as unique, and then we're gonna create a new user. So let's go in create new user. As you see, I created that post route. As you see, you can just choose from here. You can go either get, post, or put, and then you can go here. As you see, user dot create. So first of all, I'm gonna go in single. I'm gonna just get that data here, right from here, then go and create user. I'm gonna save it, and over here, as you see in the body, over the body, okay, yeah, there is one data is available. So I provide the name. I'm gonna provide my full name. So Muhammad, and then the email, phone number, image URL, and the created at, and hit enter. So what we're gonna do, as you see, 21 number data is available. If we go our single user, if we just type to create a 21 data, okay, where is that 21, and you see that data is available. And fear not, it will not be available in the data because this is a static data, so it cannot read, it doesn't provide a permission to read here. But whenever we're gonna handling within our database, we're gonna increment that one. And let me know in the comments if you're feeling good with that NestJS, because my plan is to build up a full scalable application which gonna having the Kafka and all other features, and it will be fully enterprise level application. So I'm letting you familiarize with that NestJS, because we're gonna create the backend services using NestJS and front end using the Next.js. So both parameter I'm gonna work with that. So that's why I want you to get familiar with it. I'm learning that, and also I let you learn with me together. And also do like the video and subscribe the channel if you're there. Around 80% you people not subscribing. Why? Do that, brother. It will be really helpful for me. So now as you see, we have our user. We can create user. Okay, fine. We have our 3 separate route. We can get all users, get users by ID. We can create users. Now another controller need to be added, which will be update a user. So every time we have a scenario, we can update our user. So that should be, let's say, update a user. And update user, it should not be a post method. I'm going to go with a put method. So which you can also use that using the post method, that doesn't matter, but I would love to go with the same scenario. We will try to use that all the possible scenario, real scenario case one by one. So that should be our ID. So that's the method which we're gonna run. So input method, it should be, let's say, update, should be update user. That will be a simple function, and that's it. So now we have a several port method which gonna update the user. And in the services, what we're gonna do, we're gonna just make that update a user, and here we're gonna just make that a put method. Why I'm misspelling that update? Okay, so here we're gonna just go simply with the function. That's it. So now let's go in our app controller. We're gonna go and set the logic and as a variable here. So right now we're gonna go, whenever we are updating, we have several data. First of all, we're gonna get the ID. So we're gonna update the user according to that ID. So we need to find the user by using the ID. Then we're gonna update that. And also we can just simply go with that parameter of we need to pass the body there also. So first of all, the first param, which should be the param of our, let's say it will go with as ID. So that's the first param, and in the param we need to define that ID should be as a string. Okay, that's the first param. And then we're gonna also having a body parameter, and that body parameter we're gonna having that user parameter as a body. So should be user, and over the user we're gonna pass that user as a partial user. And also over here everything gonna be defined as the type of the user. And also we're gonna get another variable defined here. We're gonna just go and pass that a message, and that message gonna pass that string. And why we're gonna use the message? Because if we try to update the different one, or something is missing, like you gonna update something but you didn't put any any input, and we're gonna throw an error from there, right? And over here what we're gonna do, we're gonna just simply return this dot user service, and over here it should be update user, and over here for the ID we're gonna pass the ID, we're gonna pass the user. So that's the user we're gonna get from our body. So that's the whole thing we are just passing there. So let's go back to our app service. There's a lot of things going on in our app service whenever we're gonna updating the user. So that's the very good focusable thing here. So the service gonna do his job right now. So in our app service we're gonna get that our user ID, that user ID which going to be coming as a number, and then it gonna come that updated fields, updated user fields. So we're gonna grab every single fields right here. So that scenario here, that updated user fields gonna be a partial user. Okay, fine. So that's the user. Then we have our user, and we have our message which going to be a string. And one more thing here, our user can be undefined. So this you need to be implemented, otherwise you're gonna also share some error for sure. Now as you're having that, we can now gonna find the user, and then we can update that one, right? So first of all, we need to provide an error. What's it gonna happen if? So we're gonna first check, we're gonna just make that. So check if the request body is empty, because if it's empty we're gonna throw an error. So if like we're gonna just grab through the object as it's gonna coming as an object dot, we're gonna pass that keys. So we're gonna just populate all the keys, and that should be updated user fields, and we're gonna just go through that length, and that length is equal to, let's say 0, means it's nothing there. Then we're gonna just simply pass a return, and then should be passing that, I will not use that message, we're gonna use a meaningful message. Please provide fields to update. Okay, so that could be happen like if user is sending something without any parameter. Now also we're gonna find out the current user, right? So that current user going to handle, now this current user we're gonna use several times. So also we can use the helpers. So I will go without helpers also, it's gonna work here, but I will use a helper right here. So let's say helpers, and in the helpers function I'm gonna just simply grab an index.ts file. Right now I'm not there is a lot of things, lot of formulation you can follow through, but right now I will just go in a simple way. Here I'm gonna just simply run an arrow function. So get current user, and over here it's gonna passing that user ID, which simply going to be a number. And over there in the arrow function, what we're gonna do, we're gonna just pass that current user. That current user should be users dot find, and over here we're gonna find with the user, and for that each individual user dot id should be is equal to our user ID. So that's what it's gonna happen there, and from there return that our current user. So using that scenario, every time we just run the function, it's gonna check for our current user. Only the thing is that we need to pass that our parameter or is the ID to grab the user. Okay, so over here now we can check if we have we need to find the current user. So current user should be, let's say, get current user, and in the function we're gonna pass simply our user ID. You can make console log and you can find that if it's applicable to you, that's up to you. So now as you see we having our current user. So now we also gonna pass if we doesn't have the current user. So you want to update something, but you basically there is no user within that ID, so we don't want to go with that to make that things to entertain. So user not available with ID, than the passing the user ID. So now two scenario how your API can break. Someone requesting your API to update a user and he's not providing any specific ID, it will crash your API. Also he's not providing any field, just hitting the route within any purposes, it can also crash your application. Now we take two step of validation. Any user want to update any application, like any admin want to update any user, he must have specific the proper ID according the unique ID, then also he need to have that fields. So that's just a two-way authentication parameter. Now we need to update the user and we need to create the update user. So should be updated user, and as the user coming as an object parameter, first of all we're gonna pass that ID, and that ID should be creating the user ID which you are having there. So should be user ID. Right now as you see we are not manipulating the ID, so user ID should be unique, and over here we need to pass the name, should be updated fields.name. So I'm gonna just go with that. So as you see it gonna go with that. So updated fields.name if it's available, okay, otherwise should be the current user.name, and also the email updated user.email. And as you see the created ads, the created ad should be current user.created ad. That's it. Why? Because that created ad is just created as new, right? Previously whenever it's created we are just updating user, so we are not manipulating the created ad data. Also you can just just copy the just highlighted that it will be on that. So but it's better to keep it on that way. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna pass that users, and in the users we're gonna go with that our user ID, and on that user ID we'll go specific ID -1 to grab the ID because the array is starting by 0. So that's why we need to provide that user specification. So now as you see we have our updated user. Now let's go in our controller. Here was saying the message string undefined is not assignable to type user. Okay, there is coming up the parameter of that message. So we can also pass that. I think one more parameter which we are missing here. As you see, we can also need to check another optional null check. If it's not available, what we can do. So if it's not available, we can go with an empty variable portion. So right now it can also be checked. And also for the message parameter, we can check where is the error going on. I think our problem is coming here undefined. Did we define here? Okay, undefined we define not here. So undefined, we also need to define here, otherwise it's gonna crash. So now as you see, our application is coming with the 0 errors. I think we are good to go to update a user. So let's go and try to update a user. First of all, let's go over here to update a specific user. So we'll go with that our put method to go and update a specific user. So first of all, let's go and check whatever user we are having here. So in our user, so first let's go in our single user. We have 21 user, which is me. So I'm gonna just go and copy that data, and I'm gonna copy it in our update user. I'm gonna go in our body, and on the body I'm gonna pass that. Okay, so interim over there, the ID not to be specific. So and then okay, I forget that. Okay, first of all, I'm gonna go with one parameter just to see if it's okay or not. If I hit in an empty variable, you see, please provide fields to update. And also, if you see, I'm passing that in a user which is not having the ID, please provide okay. So first of all, I'm gonna go with that, and then I'm gonna go with the 43. Let's see if we can update. No, user not available with this ID. So it's really amazing to do in that way. So now let's go and use the 21. If for this one we want to update that one, we're gonna update that name should be John Doe. And here as you see, we have the created at should be updated at should be enabled. You see, okay, user not available. So if we go in single user, okay, it's because we are not working with the same database, so it's just refreshing that and it's going getting back the user. So now yeah, we are having that. So now if it's having happened to you, just create the user again. So now as you see, 21 John Doe, and also we are having updated at, and if you go to get user, you see now my name is there and updated user, so it's creating a new user. So I think that's really good and fundamental. So now as we did that, we need to have another user, another parameter which should be a delete user. So let's go and create another controller. So it should be a message delete a user. So delete a user. Over here, what you're gonna do, you're gonna create a simple function again. So delete user by ID. Over here we need to just go and delete the user according to that ID, and of course the method need to be passing here. It should be yeah, we are in the controller, so should be passing that at delete method. So should be, yeah, that's we missed that. We need to pass that method parameter here, should be at delete. Okay, and in the delete method we also going to pass the delete /id. So that will be our method, and in the service we're gonna create our service. So over here, after that update, we need to just pass that should be delete user, DELETE. Okay, so that would be our simple method to delete a user. So now let's write our app controller to control our parameter. So now over here, we're gonna, first of all, we're gonna get a param. So in that param, we need to pass our ID, right? So that's the ID by which we're gonna delete our user. So in the ID should be a string flag. That's it. And also we can pass the message, because remember the user which the ID which is sending, maybe that user is not available in our database, so it can be undefined. Okay, that should not be an array. Yeah, that should be an array, because we need to finalize our user specification over there, and also we need to pass the message on the string. So now what we're gonna do is that return should be this dot user service dot delete user by ID, and over here we're gonna simply pass our ID. That's it. So now our method is ready, it's good to go. So we need to start working on our services. Now in the app service, first of all, we need to get our current user, right? So on that method, we need to pass the variable which is going to be passing that user ID, which is going to be as a number. And then in that over here, we will use that user and array value, and then also a specificational thing. It can be an undefined, and also it can be the message should be a string. First of all, we need to pass that current user. Remember why we are passing in helper function. You see, now we need to just simply pass that current user, and we're gonna get our user back. So should be user ID. Now if we doesn't have any user, right? So in that method we can just simply specify if we doesn't have our current user, so the user not available with ID, that, and then we're gonna also grab our user method, right? So if we have the user, what we're gonna do, we're gonna just make that filter through that parameter. So we're gonna pass that new users, and then should be coming with that users dot we're gonna pass that filter method, should be filter, and on that filter method we're gonna simply pass that user, and over there we're gonna write that user dot ID. We're gonna filter through not whichever not matching with that actual ID, should be user ID. So we're gonna filter through that, and then we're gonna simply pass that return new users. So basically what we're doing, we're manipulating the data layer. So right now, if we go over here in the delete user, as you see, we are deleting, let's say we're going to delete the first one, right? Hit enter. So the first one, it should not be appearing. You see the ID number 2 is starting from 2. So let's just delete the ID number 2. Okay. So we're going to just delete ID number 2, and you see ID number 1 is there, ID number 2 is gone, and again I'm gonna deleting 1. As you see, 1 is gone. So now it's replacing, because it's not coming from our database, but is removing that. Let's say it's removing the 20, number 20. You see the number 20 is removed. Let's say deleting number 19. You see the number 19 is removing. Okay, so that's how you can like a reverse on that. You can delete each and every single data layer. So right now, as we did that, we have like all the method. We have the get user method where we are getting all the user, and then we are having our get a single user method where we are specifically getting a single user, and which, okay, I'm gonna just go with the 20. So we are gonna have that. And also we're gonna having a create user method where specifically we're creating a new user. Then we have one update method where we are updating the user, and then also we are having a delete method where especially we are just deleting user from our database. So this is how we are building our application layer. So first of all, as you see, we are having our application done, but how we can deploy that, as this application is using the NestJS parameter. So now if you want to deploy that, probably we want to deploy in Vercel. The NestJS have feature to deployment, but it's for the production grid. But what we can do, we can simply deploy in our Vercel. So what we need to do in our root layer of the application, we need to create a vercel.json file, JSON, and over here we need to pass some of the methods. We need to define what kind of setup and scenario we want to pass and implement. So here you can just pass a simple variable. The version 2 builds the source main.ts Vercel node, and in the routes parameter we are going to route route, the destination, and the methods which we are passing, that get, post, put, delete, patch, and options. We are passing the header, and we are passing also the output library, which gonna be that dist formula. And also in the package we can also modify the package a bit just to go and work in a better way. So first of all, I'm gonna go and just pass that one parameter. So let's say I'm gonna pass that the build method. No need this one. So the build should be npm run build, which gonna Vercel gonna implement that one. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just make that git init. So git add dot, and also I'm gonna make that git commit. And over here, I'm going to pass a simple message. That message should be getting there. Let's say initial commit. Done. And after doing that, what we need to do, I'll simply go in my GitHub and over there, and don't worry about that. All the code I'm going to share within my repository here. So let's go and just go directly in my repository, and we're going to create a new repository. So let's say I'm gonna pass that test user app, and I'm gonna just share with you the user app. So let's create the repository. And after creating the repository, I need to just copy that tree command and then paste it right here, and it's gonna just go and push each and everything over here. And you see my code is right here. Then I'm gonna go in my Vercel. If you doesn't have any account on Vercel, it's very simple. Use your email or use your Gmail and it will be fine. So now from here, I'm gonna add new project, click on the project, and from there, as you see the first one, it's gonna popping up test user app. I'm gonna import that one directly. And over there you see that I'm not gonna touching each and anything. I'm gonna just go and deploy. It will definitely take in other because it's just coming in the server-side application. So now it's just going to start deploying our application. So if we deploy it right now, as you see in the root layout, we didn't pass anything. You can also create an application, pass a hello message in the root if you wanted to, directly passing that we have user, we are returning the get all users. We can pass simply a message right here if we wanted to. We can do it. So now let's see, it's just okay, it's deploying the outputs. It's very faster. So now continue to dashboard. So we should be able to see our route setup. We have the domain and other. Let's go back to the domain, and in the home you'll get nothing. And let's say we're gonna go with the user and then all, and we're getting a user, and then let's go 20. Done. Not the 20, not the all, should be user 20. We're having it, so it's live and it's working perfectly fine. So this is how you can build up your first ever NestJS application and deploy it in Vercel. This is pretty simple. Now in our next commitment, what we need to do, we're gonna build up the same thing but using a front end. Like we're gonna create a front end application where we can pass the, instead of that passing that within the Postman, we're gonna use a front end application where you're gonna create the form, and then we're gonna pass all the method. Then we're gonna also create a separate route where we can show the user like an admin panel, and use the NestJS to create the data flow, and we're going to connect with our database like the MongoDB or Supabase or any of the NoSQL database. It's up to us what you're going to do. But first of all, I'm going to go with the MongoDB, then we're going to go introduce one by one each and every other thing. And of course, as I'm saying, this is all our getting a preparation to build up our first ever fully functional a backend structure built by NestJS application. A front end using the NestJS application, you're going to create a fully functional e-commerce application in future. So that's all for today. Hope if you're having any particular scenario, let me know in the comments. We're going to go through it and we're going to fix each and every single thing. So wish you all the best, and anything you are facing, let me know in the comments, and any ideas you want to share also let me know in the comments. So all the best, finish it up, and of course I'm going to share the repository link so you can just clone it and have everything by yourself. So all the best, and I'm going to see you in next video.